Put some extra spin on your game with the Dunlop SX300. S stands for spin in Dunlop's new SX line, and the SX300 is loaded with plenty of it. There are some updates to this generation, including a new mold, wider string spacing, and Spin Boost Plus grommets. It also features Sonic Core Infinergy technology in the upper hoop, giving the racket a cleaner, more dampened feel at impact. The racket offers excellent maneuverability with an 11.2-ounce strung weight, 322 swing weight, and 4 points headlight balance. As I expected from this racket, the standout features for me was spin and maneuverability. From the baseline, I was really able to rotate my wrist and get a lot of spin on my ground strokes, and I had a fun time using that spin to create angles and different depths and keep my opponent guessing on the court. But I did also really need that spin because at times when I flattened out my ball, especially on an approach shot, the ball would sail and I needed that spin to dip that ball back into the court. I also really liked how fast this racket was to swing. I could generate racket head speed with ease, especially on serves throughout a whole match, as well as get the racket into position and not feel late when I was up at net hitting reflex volleys. On my serves, I really loved the slice serve out wide, especially on that deuce side. I was winning a bunch of free points and really opening that court up. If I had to mention a couple things that didn't quite gel, I was wishing for a little bit more stability. For whatever reason, I could feel the racket twisting in my hands at times, and I just didn't feel like it was super solid, maybe needing a little bit more mass behind it. Additionally, if I hit the ball a little bit lower in the sweet spot or lower in the string bed, I was noticing a drop in the launch angle, and my ball was landing short or into the net, and this was most noticeable on my returns. Overall, this was a really easy to use racket, and players looking for a little extra spin should check it out.
This is such an easy racket to use, and by that I mean it's whippy, it's easy to swing, I found great power with it, and easy depth as well thanks to the slightly higher launch angle. But the key standout feature for me is the spin. Not all 16x19 rackets are created equal, and this one looks and feels to be much more open than most, and that definitely translated out on court. I felt like I was able to hit a heavy topspin shot with it. It was great on my slice serves as well. But the flip side to that easy depth and power is that I found that the control was a little bit lacking. I found that I was launching the ball more often than usual, and I had to be really conscious about really getting underneath the ball and adding topspin to my shots in order to get it to dip into the court. I also found that this racket, being nitpicky here, is that it felt a bit more firm than I would have preferred. But overall, a really, really easy playing racket. I think if you're a player that's just looking for easy depth, power, spin, then definitely try this one out.
Like with the previous version of the SX300, I really found this version super spin friendly, and I found a groove pretty quickly from the baseline. I thought that this racket, for being so spin forward, was more controllable than most. I wasn't spraying shots as frequently as I do with some other rackets that are super spin friendly, since I tend to hit a flatter baseline shot. Where I did find some struggles though was when I was in point situations, and I would kind of forget that I was playing with such a spinny racket, and I would try to drive a shot, and then in those instances when I was driving a really flat ball, I was missing more often than I'd like to see. As I moved forward to net, I really enjoyed how quickly the racket moved into position. I thought it was offered a pretty stable feel and got the job done for me, as I tend to keep it simple on my volleys. Serve is where I was missing a little bit of plow through. I think that I was hitting more effective spin serves. I was struggling to find my flat serve with this racket. Overall, like Jason, this one tends to run a little bit on the firmer side for me, whereas I prefer rackets that are in the low 60s as far as stiffness goes. I think spin players who are looking for an easy racket to pick up and generate lots of RPMs will enjoy this racket.
Had a fun time out on the court with this update to Dunlop's SX300. I really enjoyed hitting topspin ground strokes, probably my favorite thing to do with this racket. I got a really nice shape to my shot. What I mean by that was the ball was arcing high over the net, so I got lots of net clearance, and then it was diving well inside the baseline and then kicking off the court, pushing my opponent back. So I was getting some unforced errors there, or forced errors, and some shorter shots for them me to attack even further. I was getting excellent spin out of this one. I think for topspin, I was getting very close to the spin I would expect out of something like Prince's ESP or Wilson's Spin Effect, which are engineered specifically for spin. This one comes really close to that for me on the topspin front. I did get into some issues when I was hitting flat or hitting slice. I tended to miss my targets either into the net or short on those shots, so a little bit more of adjustment period. for me to get used to the racket on those. I thought it was really nice and comfortable feeling for how firm the racket is, so you get great power, but I thought it was dampened well enough. At net, really had a fun time at net with this one. I played a lot of doubles with it, and I was punching my volleys away really well, getting some good spin to help my drop shots die quickly. And then the same on the serve, good pace, good spin. So if I was hitting with top spin, absolutely loved it.
We strung up the Dunlop SX300 with a couple different string setups, including Dunlop Black Widow and Dunlop Explosive Spin at around 52 pounds. For more information on this racket or any others, please check us out at Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, or Tennis Only.